Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yan. Here are my group members, Xinyuan and Melika.
Hi guys.
Our
Hello.
topic is homeless people in Canada. If you have ever been to downtown Toronto, you probably have seen people lying down in the middle of the street, shouting or asking for help. Um, but have you ever thought about what happened to them and why they are homeless? In these presentations, we will give you information about the meaning of homelessness, the cause, and some solutions for this issue. Despite the protection of those who actively and willingly decide to be homeless people need help from society because of financial problems, system failure, and personal circumstances. These three problems are not separate. One of them will cause the other two. And according to our research for homelessness, the main reason for the homeless is the financial issue, lack of parent support, and mental health issues, which can be prevented and caused by supporting and helping people with financial and health aid. Uh, Next, please. Now I will define what is homelessness. Firstly, homeless have the meaning of people who don't have home in dictionary. But in reality, homelessness can encompass a range of circumstances, including living on the streets or in place not meant for habitations, staying on in overnight or emergency shelters, living temporarily as a hidden homeless person with friends, family, or strangers, or in motels, hostel, or rooming houses, and resident in precar- precar- precarious or inadequate housing. Homelessness is a widespread social concern in Canada and many other developed countries. More than 235,000 people in Canada experience homelessness in any given year. And 25,000 and 35,000 people may be experiencing homelessness on a given night. So next, please. Next, please. Financial is the most obvious reason for homelessness. We can divide financial reason into two parts. First part is poverty. Second part is the overprice of buying and renting a house. Um, it has been established that poverty and homelessness are strongly correlated, where loss of income as a major factor associated with homeless. Next, please. So here are some statistics about poverty. So become 1980 and 2005, the average earning among the least wealthy Canadian fell by 20%. That means the poor get poorer. And low-income families are not only more vulnerable to poor health than those earning a living wage. They use more healthcare resource because illness can make it harder to get out of poverty. Poverty can lead to sickness because of inadequate housing, poor nutrition, and less access to preventative health care. It seems like a vicious cycle. The worst get worse. And estimate place the number of individuals experiencing homelessness while living with a disability or mental illness as high as 45% of those experiencing homelessness, where people living with disabilities are twice as likely to live below the poverty line. And 21% of single mothers in Canada raise their children while living in poverty. 7% of single fathers raise their children in poverty, where women who work full-time earn only about 72% for every dollars earned by men. And 1 in 2 status First Nation child live in poverty. And also 1 in 5 racialized families live in poverty in Canada, as opposed to 1 in 20 non-racialized families. Next, please. So there are two factors that account for increasing poverty in Canada. The first is the eroding employment opportunities for large segment of the workforce. And the second is the declining value and availability of government assistance in time of crisis. As you can see in the graph, the unemployment rate was high in 2020. It's 9.5%. It is because of the COVID-19 pandemic. During the pandemic, Canadian government provides many government assistance to people, business, and organizations, such as Canada Recovery Caregiving Benefit. In January 2022, the unemployment rate is 6.5% now. So the natural unemployment rate for Canada is like 7%. So the actual unemployment rate is below the natural unemployment rate. So natural unemployment rate is the unemployment rate that would exist in a growing and healthy economy. The natural rate of unemployment includes only frictional and structural unemployment. Frictional unemployment involves people transitional between jobs. It has nothing to do with the economic cycle and is voluntary. Structural unemployment is a direct result of shifts in the economy, including changes in technology or declines in the industry. That means these two kinds of unemployment are unavailable. In other words, the unemployment rate can be zero in reality. Which also means the Canadian government did a good job in reducing unemployment, because the actual unemployment is below the natural unemployment rate. So in the same time, people also need to be careful about the inflation, which caused by the subsidies which provided by government, because the money was less, because government printed money to give to people. And next is for the next, please. Is the overprice of buying or renting house. People that live in poverty are frequently unable to pay for housing, food, childcare, healthcare, and education. Difficult choice must be made when limited resources cover only some of these necessities. Often, it is housing which absorb a high proportion of income that must be sacrificed. The overprice of buying and renting house make it worse. Here are the statistics. So over the past 25 years, Canada's population has increased by 30%, and yet annual national investment in housing has decreased by 46%. And due to the epidemic of unaffordable housing in Canada, almost 1 in every 5 households experience serious housing affordability issues, spending over 15% of their low income on rent, which put them at risk of homelessness. In Toronto, one study found that there were approximately 5,219 people who experienced homelessness in 2013. According to the next, please. So according to the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, housing is considered to be affordable when a household spends less than 30% of its per-tax income on adequate shelter. Households that spend more than 30% of their income on shelters are deemed to be in core housing needed. Those that spend 50% or more on shelter are in severe housing need. Unfortunately, although most people are able to obtain housing through their private market, it isn't adequate for everyone. The CMHC report in 2010 that over 27% of Canadian households, more than 1 in 4, live in core housing need. 10.5% are in severe housing need. And then another reason for the overpricing of house is the cancellation of the federal social housing program in 1993. It resulted in a dramatic reduction in the amount of affordable housing available and can be linked very directly to the increase in homelessness. As you can see in the graph, during the pandemic, the average sold price of Canada real estate market trends for all property types increasing dramatically from $540,000 to $750,000 from during these 2 years. The other graph show that the increasing rate of average price of 4 types of house in Great Toronto area in 1 year. Yeah, we can see that the increase is dramatic, and also the income is not increased that dramatic. And the renting price of the house is in direct proportion to the price of buying the house. People need more money to buy or rent a house. That's the problem here. So next part will be presented by my group member Melika.
Hello, everyone, again. As Yang mentioned, for the first reason was financial problems, which leads us to the second reason. Second reason is system failure. So what is system failure? System failures is when an organization or an organization such as healthcare system or immigration system, they fail and they don't support people the way that they should have or they could have, and which lead us to system failure. Let me give you some example of system failure so you will understand the concept better. First example is the lack of support for immigrants and refugees. This is a really important part of system failures. Most of the newcomers, when they come to Canada, they have lots of shocks when they come here. For example, price of houses. They nowadays in Canadian economy, we can see that there is a high rise in rents and housing prices, and which when newcomers come to Canada, they see the prices are not the one that they planned that and they thought they would afford it. And you might think, so why don't they work so they can get like a job and they can find a house? The reason is most of the immigrants are skilled immigrants, but the thing is their skills are not accepted in Canada because of accreditations system. Accreditation is when, for example, a surgeon comes to Canada, but it has to take few exams to show that his knowledge. And also socializing and adapting to new culture is other reasons that people might get depression and then become like homeless, which are all under the responsibility of the government support systems. They can put programs to show people about Canadian culture. They can learn about the culture of the country that they're planning to leave, and they can come here with knowledge about accreditation that they might face, and they will be ready for it. But most of the time they are not ready for it and they end up homeless. The other example would be the foster care. So the homelessness is linked to foster care in two ways. First one is when children grow up in those places, and after in their adulthood they become homeless because of the experiences that they had over there. And the second one is when they grow up with family who are homeless, and their family usually are addicted to drug, addicted to alcohol, and they don't really care about children. So they grow up as a homeless and they stay as a homeless. And as I mentioned, these children might face sexual and physical abuse, family dissolution, unhealthy relationship. They don't have any partner or father or mother who actually cares and show their loves. They have poor mental health and the alcohol and the things that I've mentioned before. The third one is correction and rehabilitation programs that are usually failed. So we all faced when someone asks us when we are buying the house, we are trying to rent a house, we are going to try to go to a new job. They ask for criminal record, and people who come from who end up in the jail and they come from the prison, they usually fail at this part, and they don't get any job, they don't get any house, no one rent the house for them, and government doesn't give any support for them to like help them, or there is like no system that can help them with their mental health issue that they face in the jail, and the other issues that they will face, like a financial issues that they will face as soon as they get out from the jail. That was the three examples of the system failure. The last reason of homelessness is personal circumstances. Personal circumstances would be domestic violence that people might face in their life, a fight they maybe had, a big situation that they were in and they couldn't overcome it, such as breaking up, such as being addicted to drugs or alcohol, or most of the time they become disabled, they face a depression, and they become unemployment and end up homeless. Let me open this reason more with give example of domestic violence. Domestic violence is when people face a violence in their house. It might be women's or the children's. And when they face a domestic violence, they don't actually see any they don't have any plan to go and like live a new life. They just run away from that house with no money, with no clothes, no enough clothes, no nothing, and they end up living in the street. But nowadays, governments are actually thinking to prevent homelessness instead of ending it. Preventing it is always easier way, and homeless people are the rates of homeless people will reduce when they try to prevent it. But how they will prevent it? They can prevent homelessness with some supports, like such as financial supports and mental health supports. And the most important thing that they should do in order to prevent homelessness is that they find people who are in danger to be homeless, and they give them support immediately. So they will prevent homelessness before it begins. Now I will pass the presentation to my friend Xinyuan, and she will explain the solution for homelessness.
Hi guys, I'm Xinyuan. So as we can see, my partner Liu Yang and Melika mentioned that what is the homelessness and what caused the homelessness. So next, I will explain the solution. So a decade ago, the 5 Canadian cities adopted an immigrant approach to mental health and homelessness called the Housing First. So which was introduced in New York City in 1992. The Housing First provided replaced the access to independent housing and other support for those which is the most long-term problem, such as the mental health and the education the challenge. So the next please. Thank you. So next we move to what does it take to end the homelessness, to adequate the supply to society, so affordable to appropriate housing is a general and to homelessness in the long term. This includes ensure the long term the homeless people as that the system are in the place to enable these people to access the housing and the support. So the housing first. So implementing the housing first agent has become even more the challenge to the housing market. It is also important to address the food supply for affordable housing to expand access to other period group. Also include the women feeling the violence and indigenous people, the family and early and young. So next, please. So ultimately, the saving the Canadian the housing increase boil down to the money. So which receives the question about our national priorities. The Canadian the homeowner receives more than 8.6 billion a year in tax and other benefits. This investment in home ownership is important because the benefit a million of the middle income family. So ironically, ignoring our housing the problem, the cost more than fix it. The consider the estimate that the homeless along the cost the Canadian the economy the more than 7 billion a year. So also the Canadian the government invest the 119 million a year to address the homeless. Through the homeless the partnership strange, this is not enough to address the problem and has not significantly reduced the homeless. So next, please. So in early April, so we can say that in early April, so Trudeau, the government also announcement the 157 million in funding for shelter and other homeless relief effort. So with fund marketed from the service, the focus on women and the indigenous people. So this is not just a question of the giving the people a safe place and escape the violence or shelter when they do not have a home. Trudeau said that at time. So it is really about the protecting the everyone in our society for COVID-19, and that include the most the vulnerable. So next, so I will explain the 3 points about the solution about the homeless. So at the one point is coordinate the homeless care system and the homeless. There is a dozen, the often hundred of the public and the non-profit program and the system in each community, serving pro and the homeless individual and the families. It has become a holy project of the immigrants' response, effectively coordinated a care system among and ending homelessness. So next please. Another point is the income. To mention the housing, the homeless person, they must have an income. This is an important point. So the second point, the financial as the programs include the rent support provided through the provincial government and the local national the employment the service. The previously the homeless people can be helped build a skill and necessary to income their income. To ministry service is to be used the proposed. So the next point is next please. So next point is immigrants prevention. So the most cost-effective way to end the homelessness is to prevent it from the happening in the first place. So people follow the predictable path to homelessness to end the homelessness. Community need thoughtful and systematic the prevention restraint that include the early detection and the immigrant assistance and the system coordination and the housing and the support the service to access. So income needed to mention the housing, so the employment or Main Street income the support to mention as need. So many existing the social programs provided to immigrants to service and temporary cash to vulnerable the group. So existing this cash the management consider way to integrate with this existing the system to adopt your own. So next please is a conclusion. So in other words, as Canadian, we spend more people who do not need help than we do those who need the most. By not spending money and these who need the most, we are not only causing the hardship to many Canadians' family. So, but we also causing the considerable expense to Canadians' economy. So next week, also we want to mention that it's so we can help others such we can, and when we help others, we can also help ourselves. So the next is Melika to explain the discussed question.
Thank you everyone for listening to us. Now we have some question to you so we can discuss about it. According to our research and our presentation, do you think is there anything that you thinking but it was wrong, and any misunderstanding you had before this presentation about homelessness? And also, what are the other solutions in your opinion? We will talk about this in the class. Hope you enjoy our presentation. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for guys listening.
Thank you.